The night shuttle came down through orange dust like a falling star. The landing pads shook. The air tasted like iron. People at the frontier port paused what they were doing and looked up. Metal screamed. Lights flashed. Then the shuttle settled with a long hiss and the cargo doors began to open. Evan Cross stood alone near Bay 3 with his hands in his jacket pockets. He was thin, tired, and a little dirty from the day's repairs. He fixed water pumps for the colony. He fixed doors that would not seal. He fixed power coils that shook like sick hearts. He could fix almost anything, except the silence in his house. He had not planned to meet a bride tonight. He had planned to meet a clerk. 3 days before a message came, application denied, funding insufficient. It was brutal and dry like everything the Interstellar Match Agency sent. He had already paid the fee. He had already filled out 50 forms. He had already told himself he was ready to try again, to let someone into the space that grief left behind. Then, an hour ago, a second message arrived. Shipment delivered, bride candidate Lyra 17, docking 2210, bring ID, shipment. The word made him sick. Still he came, partly to say there was a mistake, partly because some small warm thing in him whispered, what if the universe changed its mind? The crowd thickened as the shuttle's ramp dropped. Miners in dust-stained suits, traders with glowing tattoos, children on their parents' shoulders pointing at the ship like it was a giant toy. Security drones hovered with red eyes. A port officer shouted orders. The agency clerk arrived with a tablet and a bored face. Your cross? The clerk asked. Yes, sign here. Your unit is Lyra 17. The clerk did not look up from the tablet. There's a complaint in the chain, so we need a temporary receiver. You were the closest match in local radius. It's irregular. You sign, you house her for 72 hours. Either the complaint clears and she stays or we reroute. If you refuse, we return. Return fee is deducted from your deposit. I was denied, Evan said. Denied for a different candidate. Not this one. Different program stream. Hybrid category. The clerk's tone was flat like a machine. Please sign. Evan stared at the signature box. He thought of the money he could not replace. He thought of the empty chair at his small metal table. He thought of the sound of the storm last winter and the way it loved to find cracks and sing through them like a ghost. He signed. Bring her out, the clerk called. The door at the top of the ramp slid open. For a moment, the light behind it was too bright to see anything. Then a figure stepped out, slow, careful, both strong and afraid at the same time. She was tall. Not human tall. She was a head taller than the tallest miner there. Her skin had a soft violet tone under the white lights like dusk. Her hair was thick and dark, braided back, heavy with silver rings that chimed when she moved. Her eyes were wide and adjusted fast, and in that bright moment Evan saw the fear there. Not fear of people, but fear of being sent back. She carried a standard issue bag. It looked small in her hands. A whisper moved through the crowd. Hybrid. Too big. Is that the defective one? I heard she broke a lift. The clerk raised the tablet. Unit Lyra 17. Category Companion Industrial Hybrid. Note on file Excess Mass Index. He spoke the words like reading a weather report. Escort to local receiver. Lyra looked down at the floor. She made herself smaller, as if she could fold herself into a box and disappear. But she could not disappear. There was too much of her, too much bone, too much strength, too much life. Evan stepped forward. I'm Evan, he said. His voice sounded too bright in his own ears. I'm here to receive you, she swallowed. I'm Lyra, she said. Her translator was damaged. The words came with a soft buzz. Each sentence had a small lag as if traveling a far road. I understand. I will not be trouble. We'll go to my place, Evan said. It's not far. The clerk checked a box on the tablet. 3 days, he said. Then we confirm. A security drone floated close to Lyra's face, scanned, beeped, and moved away. She flinched. The crowd did not break. They watched her pass like people watch a storm cloud. Evan led her out into the night. The port lights faded behind them and the sky opened wide and black. 2 moons hung over the cracked plain. Wind moved dust along the ground in narrow streams. Far away, the refinery stacks made a low iron sound like someone dragging a shovel over stone. They walked the road to his workshop. Lyra kept her head down and matched her steps to his. Even careful, she made the planks creak when they crossed the small bridge over the dry canal. I am sorry, she said at last. I was sent by error. I will leave when they ask. It is better. I do not want to damage your life. You're not damaging anything, Evan said. You're a person, her breath caught. She said nothing more. His workshop and home sat behind a fence of bent metal. The sign over the door said cross repair in chipped paint. He unlocked the door and swung it open. Inside was warm. A small heater glowed. Tools hung from a wall like a quiet crowd. The place smelled like oil and old coffee. You can sit, he said. She lowered herself onto a bench, slow so it would not groan. She put the bag at her feet and folded her hands. He saw the scars on her knuckles. They were pale and long like thin rivers across a map. They were not from softness. They were from work. I have tea, Evan said. It's not good tea. But it's hot, that is, good, she said. She looked around. Her eyes lingered on a picture frame on a shelf. The picture showed a woman with dark hair laughing. There was a raincoat hanging behind her shoulders. There was a hand on her arm, Evan's hand. The glass over the picture was cracked. My wife, Evan said. He did not know why he said it, but once he started, the words wanted out. She died. 2 winters ago. Fire at the barracks. I couldn't break the door. It's an old story here. Lyra lowered her head. I am sorry for your loss. Thank you. He poured tea into 2 tin cups. He wrapped his hands around his cup not to drink but to feel the heat. She lifted her cup with great care. Her hands dwarfed it. She did not bring it to her mouth until she was sure she could do it without spilling. Why did they say excess mass? Evan asked. He kept his voice small and curious. He did not want to make pain. He only wanted to understand. Lyra looked at her cup. I was designed for high-gravity work, she said. The translator clicked on the word designed like the sound of a small stone hitting metal. Heavy bones. Dense muscles. On some worlds, this is good. On others, it is too much. The agency sells us as companions because there is demand on frontier worlds. Strong wives can help with farms, mines, mills. But they also sell a picture. The picture is not me. When clients see me, many say no. Today, the client said I was too fat. Her mouth worked around the human words. He said I was frightening. You're not frightening, Evan said. He meant it. He did not know what else to say. She gave a small nod. Thank you. The agency does not return us to our origin, she said. It is too much fuel. We are redirected. Sometimes we never land anywhere long. We break rules by existing in the wrong place. Evan felt something old and sharp move in his chest. Anger. It had been hiding behind the grief for a long time. They called you a shipment, he said. Like a crate of parts. Lyra shook her head. I am used to it. You shouldn't have to be. She put the cup down. May I ask a question? Of course. Why did you sign? Your file says you were denied. You had the right to refuse me. Evan looked at his hands. Oil had worked into the lines. No soap ever got it all out? I thought if I refused, he said, they would send you back to a holding crate and forget your name. He paused. I did not want that to happen to anyone. Not again. Lyra watched him for a long moment. Her eyes were very clear. Thank you, she said softly. I will be quiet while I stay. I am good at work. I can lift things. I can fix some machines. I will not sleep long. I can keep watch. I know how to be small. You don't have to be small, Evan said. The words surprised him. They came out before he had time to worry about them. This place is made of loud things. You can be loud if you want. Something like a shy smile touched her mouth. It was there and gone in a heartbeat. A sudden sharp sound cut the air. Bweep. Bweep. Evan's head snapped toward the door. The security sensor light changed from green to red. He crossed the workshop and pulled up the small monitor near the door latch. 2 drones hovered at the fence line. Their red eyes stared through the gloom. A tiny speaker crackled. Agency audit. Confirm custody of Unit Lyra 17 open for inspection. Lyra went very still. The smile vanished. She lowered her head and folded her hands again like she was bracing for impact. They will measure me, she said. They will say I take too much space. Evan's jaw tightened. He looked back at the picture on the shelf. Then he looked at Lyra. Stay here, he said. He stepped outside. The cold hit his face like a slap. Dust bit at his ankles. The drones drifted closer, clicking and scanning. Receiver cross, one drone said. Confirm custody. Provide visual of unit. She's resting, Evan said. It's late. Your window was not on the notice. Inspection now, the drone said. Open. Do you have a warrant? Evan asked. He kept his voice steady. He knew this dance. Machines liked forms. If you asked about forms, sometimes you bought time. Administrative authority, the drone said, non-judicial. So you don't have a warrant, he said. He stepped between the drones and the door. You can scan me all you want. You're not waking her. The drones spun their rotors harder. The red eyes burned brighter. Obstruction recorded, one said. Fine assessed. If inspection is denied, unit will be removed at sunup. Evan's mouth went dry. He needed to keep her safe. He needed time to think. Come at sunup then, he said. I'll have tea ready. The drones hovered as if confused by the hospitality and the refusal. Then they rose, slid back toward the road and vanished into the dark. Evan went inside and shut the door. He leaned against it and breathed out the breath he did not know he had been holding. They're coming at sunup, he said. Lyra nodded. It is very kind that you let me rest until then. Kind. He shook his head. No, basic. He moved to the bench and kneeled by her bag. May I? He asked. She nodded again. He opened the bag. Inside were 3 folded uniforms, a small packet of ID tags, a dented hair comb, and a translator chip in a cracked case. He lifted the chip. This is why your words buzz, he said. It's half broken. I can fix it. You can fix anything? There was a ghost of that small smile again. Almost, he said. Not the past, but maybe this. He set the chip on the bench, took out a lamp, and pulled tools from the wall. He worked while she watched, soldering tiny lines until they were whole again. Sparks ticked in the air like fireflies. When he was done, he blew across the board and handed it to her. She clicked the chip into the port at the base of her neck. The buzz cleared. Thank you, she said, and the sound of her voice was different now. It was still low and careful, but warmer, closer, like a person standing in your doorway instead of outside the fence. You're welcome. I can help you, Lyra said. She looked around the shop and pointed to the broken hydraulic press in the corner. This is out of alignment. The piston ring is chipped. If you give me a rasp and a clamp, I can hold the housing while you set the new ring. That thing weighs 200 kilos, Evan said. Yes, she said simply. He stared for a second. Then he laughed, not because it was funny, but because the feeling in his chest had to go somewhere. Let's do it in the morning, he said. Tonight you sleep. I do not sleep much, she said. It is a side effect of my design. You don't have to be what they designed, he said. You can be Lyra. She looked down. Her hands tightened on the edge of the bench. I do not know who that is, she whispered. We'll find out, he said. He pulled a blanket from a locker and laid it on the cot in the back room. He showed her the tiny wash sink, the shelf with the extra towel, the wall hook where she could hang her braid. He flicked the heater switch higher. The unit hummed. She stood in the doorway and took it all in like a map to a country she did not believe was real. I will try to be small, she said again, almost like a prayer. Evan paused in the middle of the room. The words came to him as clear as the cold outside. He turned and looked straight at her. You don't need to shrink for anyone, he said. For a heartbeat, her face opened. The fear held back. The shame loosened. The person underneath looked out. It was not soft or weak. It was strong and tired and brave. A low rumble rolled across the ground. The port, maybe, or the refinery, or distant thunder. But to Evan it sounded like a clock starting. He killed the lights, leaving only the heater's glow. Lyra lay on the cot, too careful even in sleep, as if afraid the bed might crack. Evan sat at the workbench and watched the door. He would take first watch. He did not know what would happen at sunup. He only knew this. If the drones came, they would meet a man who had decided to be human again, and a woman who had never been a mistake. Outside, the dust moved in thin rivers under the moons, and the colony breathed like a great machine. Inside, for the first time in 2 winters, the small room did not feel empty. It felt like a promise waiting for morning. The morning came slowly, with pale sunlight cutting through dust in the air. Evan had not slept. He sat at the workbench, tools scattered around, watching the door and listening to every sound outside. The security drones could come any moment. He heard only wind and the faint metal hum of the heater. Lyra was awake too. She had never really slept. When she moved, the cot groaned under her strength. She folded the blanket neatly and stood near the small window. Her violet skin glowed softly in the early light. For a long time she said nothing. She only watched the empty road leading back to the port. "They'll come soon," Evan said. "Yes," Lyra replied in a quiet voice. "They always come back." Evan rubbed his tired eyes. "If they take you, where will they send you?" "Nowhere safe," she said. "I was part of a series built for labor on heavy-gravity planets. The agency said we were too costly to keep, so we were sold as wives. If we were not chosen, they erased our records." "Erased?" Evan repeated. "Deleted," she said simply. "Like data that does not fit." Her words sat in his chest like stones. He looked at her carefully, at the way she stood, shoulders drawn in, trying to make herself smaller. He thought about his wife again, the fire, the loss, the years of silence. And now, this woman, this hybrid, stood before him. Another person thrown away by a system that called itself efficient. Evan took a deep breath. "You said last night you could fix machines," Lyra nodded. "Yes, I was trained for industrial assembly. Strength and precision." He pointed at the broken hydraulic press in the corner. "Then let's fix this. It'll keep us busy." For the first time, her face softened with purpose. She moved to the machine, crouching beside it. Evan handed her tools. The metal creaked as she lifted the heavy piston housing with one hand, her muscles tensing under violet skin. Evan stared, half amazed, half worried she might strain herself. "I told you it's heavy," he said. "It is not," she replied, a hint of pride sneaking into her voice. "Where I worked, each press weighed 3 times this." They worked together silently for hours. Lyra's movements were careful but sure. She listened to his instructions, and soon, he didn't need to give any. She understood how machines spoke through sound. The groan of stress, the click of misalignment, the sigh when balance returned. Evan found himself watching her more than the machine. When the piston finally slid into place with a deep thunk, she stepped back and smiled. It wasn't shy this time. It was real. "It works," she said. Evan pressed the switch. The press came to life, smooth and even. "You fixed it," he said. "Not me." Lyra looked at her hands. "I was made for work," she said. "It is all I know." "No," Evan said softly. "It's what they told you. That's different." Before she could answer, a harsh beep from the monitor froze them both. Evan turned to the small screen near the door. Red lights blinked. 3 drones this time, approaching from the west fence. "They're back," he said. "Early." Lyra's breathing changed. She took a step back, her large frame shaking slightly. "If they scan me, they will take me," she said. "You must tell them I ran away." "I'm not lying for them," Evan said quickly. "If they want you, they'll have to go through me." Her eyes widened. "You cannot fight machines." "Maybe not," he said, "but I can stall them." He pulled a tarp from the wall and threw it over the press. "Get into the basement," he said. "Through that hatch behind the counter." "I will break it," she said. "It's reinforced. Go." She hesitated, then knelt and opened the hatch. The basement was narrow and dark, filled with spare parts and tools. She climbed down, her size barely fitting, then pulled the cover closed just as a knock rattled the door. Evan opened it halfway. The lead drone hovered close, its red lens glowing. "Inspection," it said. "Report the presence of hybrid unit Lyra 17. She's gone," Evan said. "Left before sunrise." The drone scanned his face. "Visual confirmation required." "I told you," he said. "She's gone. Probably halfway to the ridge by now." The drone tilted slightly, processing. "You assisted her escape?" "No," Evan said. "She broke the latch and ran." The drones exchanged signals through a brief flash of light. "Your cooperation is noted," one said. "Failure to report movement of property will result in penalty." "She's not property," Evan snapped before he could stop himself. The drone paused. Its lens brightened. "Statement recorded. You are under review." "Fine," he said through clenched teeth. "You do your review. I'll do my work." After a tense moment, the drones rose into the air and flew toward the east side of the colony, scanning as they went. Evan shut the door and locked it. His hands shook slightly. He lifted the hatch. "It's safe," he said. Lyra climbed out slowly. Her hair brushed the ceiling. She looked around, then at him. "You risked your life." "I risked a fine," Evan said. "That's not the same." "They will come again," she said. "I know," he answered. "We'll be ready next time." Lyra moved closer. "Why?" she asked softly. "Why help me?" He met her eyes. "Because someone once helped me when I didn't deserve it," he said. Because no one deserves to be thrown away. Lyra looked down at the floor, her hands trembling. You speak like a kind man. I'm just a man, he said, trying not to be part of the problem. For a moment, neither spoke. Outside, the wind rose again, making the walls hum. Lyra placed a hand on the metal wall, feeling the vibration. The storm is coming, she said. A real one this time, Evan frowned. How do you know? She tapped her ear. My sensors are still active. I can feel pressure drop, he smiled. Then maybe it'll keep the drones grounded for a while. That night, the storm came. Thunder rolled over the plains, shaking the windows. The roof groaned under the rain. Evan sat by the heater, soldering parts. Lyra sat across from him, repairing a broken circuit board. As lightning flashed, she spoke again. You lost your wife in a fire, she said quietly. How do you still have hope? Evan stopped working. The question struck deep. I didn't, he said. Not for a long time. Then you walked off that shuttle looking like the world hated you, and somehow I wanted to prove it wrong. Lyra looked at him. The light from the heater reflected in her eyes, making them glow like stars. You think I can be free? Yes, he said. But not if you keep hiding. Not if you keep thinking you're less. She lowered her gaze. The world sees me as a mistake. Then the world's broken, Evan said. Not you. They sat in silence after that. The rain softened. The storm began to fade. When Evan looked up, she was watching him with something new in her expression. Trust, maybe, or something close to it. Later, when he went to turn off the lights, he saw her standing near the door. She looked back at him, voice steady now. I will not run, she said. No matter what they do, I will stand. Evan nodded. Good, he said. Because tomorrow we start fighting back. Outside, the drone's red lights blinked faintly through the storm clouds, circling, searching. Inside, in that small workshop, two broken souls had found something stronger than fear. Hope forged in quiet defiance. The storm howled through the dark plains like a living thing. Rain hammered the metal roofs and wind tore at every loose wire and door hinge. Evan and Lyra walked side by side through the mud, the wind pushing hard against them. The old colony lights glowed faintly behind them, growing smaller with every step. Lyra carried most of the supplies, tools, water, a small bag of food like they weighed nothing. Evan carried only a flashlight and a broken radio. Lightning flashed across the sky, showing the black trees ahead. The signal tower is close, he said, shouting over the wind. It's on the ridge past those trees. Lyra nodded, her braid whipping behind her. The storm will hide us, she said. But when it ends, the drones will track our footprints. Then we make sure we're gone before sunrise, Evan replied. They reached the forest edge and found the old tower, a tall, rusted structure half buried in vines. The base was cracked and tilted, but it still stood. Evan pried open the service door with a wrench. Inside, dust filled the air. Old equipment hummed faintly, still alive after years of silence. This will do, Evan said. Lyra placed the supplies down and looked around. It feels safe, she said. For now. Evan nodded. He tried the radio, twisting the dial. Static filled the air, sharp and cold. If we can boost this signal, maybe we can contact someone who isn't part of the agency. Someone who will listen? She asked. Someone human, he said. They worked together through the night. Lyra held the tower's beam steady while Evan climbed to adjust the transmitter. She was strong enough to lift the metal with one arm. The rain finally slowed. The sound of thunder faded into the distance. When Evan came down, soaked and tired, he found her sitting on the floor beside the heater they'd managed to restart. She was staring at her hands again. I don't understand you, she said softly. What do you mean? You could walk away, she said. You could let them take me. You could keep your life. But you don't. Evan crouched in front of her. Because I've already lost everything once, he said. And I learned something. When you stop caring, you stop being human. Her violet eyes shimmered in the dim light. I was not born, she whispered. I was made. Does that mean I cannot be human? He smiled a little. Human isn't what you are. It's what you do. Before she could answer, the tower lights flickered red. A faint mechanical hum filled the air. Evan turned to the window and froze. 3 patrol mechs were moving through the trees below. Their red eyes scanned the darkness. Drones circled above, slicing beams through the rain. They found us, he said. Lyra stood quickly. I will go outside, she said. I can fight them. No, Evan shouted. You'll die. She looked at him calmly. If they take you, they'll kill you too. You broke their law. We'll think of something, he said, but the mechs were already climbing the hill, their heavy feet shaking the ground. Evan grabbed the radio and turned it to maximum range. If we can reach the main network, maybe we can expose them, he said. Lyra nodded. Then I will hold them off until you finish. She ran to the door before he could stop her. The stormlight made her look like a giant shadow against the night. When she stepped into the rain, the wind caught her braid and threw it behind her like a flag. Lyra, Evan shouted. But she was already moving. The first mech fired a stun blast. She dodged, grabbed a fallen metal beam and swung it like a hammer. The blow crushed the mech's sensor head with a burst of sparks. The others advanced, their weapons charging. Inside, Evan worked furiously at the controls. Static roared through the radio. Then a voice crackled faintly. Unidentified transmission, state your code. Evan shouted into the mic. This is Evan Cross, Colony 7. The Interstellar Marriage Agency is selling hybrids as property, rejecting and erasing them. We have proof. Another blast shook the tower. Lyra fell to one knee outside, smoke rising from her shoulder where a shot grazed her. She gritted her teeth and stood again. Lyra! Evan cried, running to the doorway. She looked back at him with a small, tired smile. You saw me, she said softly, before anyone did. Then she lifted the metal beam again and slammed it into the last mech's core. It exploded in a burst of red light. The shockwave threw her back. Evan rushed to her side and caught her before she hit the ground. Her breathing was shallow. Blue light pulsed faintly under her skin. Stay with me, he said, pressing his hand against the wound. You'll be fine. You're strong. She tried to smile again. Strong, but tired. He held her close, rain running down both their faces. Please, he whispered. Don't go. Her eyes closed. You said human is what you do, she whispered weakly. Then you made me human. The radio behind them crackled louder. Transmission received. Investigation in progress. Evan looked up through the rain. The mechs were gone. The drones retreated. The signal had reached someone who heard. Hours later, when the sun rose, the sky was calm and gold. The agency's ships were gone. News spread across the colonies, proof of the illegal hybrid program. People were angry. The system began to fall apart. Evan built a new workshop near the ridge, this time with a wide door and open light. And there, among the repaired machines, stood Lyra, alive, her wounds healed. Her eyes met his, full of life. You saved me, she said. He shook his head. No, Lyra, you saved us both. She smiled, a real smile, bright and free. Then we both chose to be human. Outside, the sky was clear, and for the first time in years, the wind sounded gentle. The colony began to rebuild, not with fear, but with hope. And in that small corner of the galaxy, a man and a woman who once had nothing finally found a place where they both belonged.